All right, everybody. Thank y'all for showing up tonight. Sticking around as we get everybody corralled in here. If this is your first time for seeing us, my name is Big B. I am the president of the Moonshine Chapter of Tennessee. This is PBW Radio, and we're going to introduce our guests for this afternoon. We have the one and only red-bearded Stones.
What's up?
President.
Sure.
We have old grumpy, my friend Papa Bear, president of the Storm Riders chapter. We have the one and only Miss B, treasurer of Moonshine chapter, and my lovely wife. And lastly, someone you've never met before, we have Miss Rebecca Davis. And we have an interesting conversation that we're going to have. We've got three different parts to this or so that we're going to discuss. Uh, I know Papa Bear likes titles and instructions, so here you are. So we're going to go over some domestic violence awareness. Miss Rebecca is anchored outreach, and she has some inside information, and we're going to discuss some on women's shelters, and we'll see where this all goes. But I sure appreciate y'all all coming in here tonight.
It's good to be
That
here.
was where y'all could interact.
It's good to be here. Thank you for the invite. Hello, everyone. I've really enjoyed watching your program and getting to know your organization and what you guys are doing. And it just blesses me to know that there's people out there that really care. To me, I not only am I a survivor of domestic violence, I've been out for over 5 years. Um, but I was in that situation for almost 23 years, and I know you guys hear it everywhere. But I wish I would have had someone like you for me and my children. And it was many, many times that we struggled to get out, and that the system itself and the restraining orders didn't work, and the order of protections didn't work. And so, as I go through what I'm going through, and I continue on with my walk, and I've found my passion and why I do what I do. I just want to support and be there for people that are doing what you guys are doing. It is definitely an honor to um, be of any assistance or any help that we can be to further
Well,
what you guys want to do.
we definitely appreciate that. We need all the help we can get. It's like we've talked about it earlier and was talking about it earlier, but this isn't a new problem, and I don't normally throw the comments up because it takes away from y'all's faces, but tonight I am. Just so we can see some of what all is said, and Rebecca, these people that are in here, most of them are chapter members. There's only 39 on right now, so hopefully we'll have a few more draw in soon. But it never fails, five, six, 700 comments that they'll leave in the middle of these videos. Some of it questions, some of it just proud to be here and support for their chapter or for the whole club. It is amazing at some of the folks that we've got in here and how hard they work to be here. Um, so just so again, if you've never seen us before, um, PBWRC, Protecting Battered Women RC, is not a 501c. We don't take donations at all. We are 100% self-funded, boots on the ground organization. Um, we have the website that we constantly show up, ask y'all to take part in and use, protectingbatteredwomen.com. If you are in need of help or if you would like to help, go to that website. Um, find your state. It'll show you the chapter that handles your state. Go in there. There's a phone number and an email address. Shoot them a text message, send them an email, give them a call, let them know you either need help. We'll find the best way to help you, or you'd like to be of service, and we'll figure out how to get you in here so that you can be the next one helping. Um, the website has worked amazingly since it went up. And again, protectingbatteredwomen.com. I ask y'all to don't even hesitate. If you've got a thought, just get in there. We've had people that have come to us. They've already got out of their domestic violence situation, but they've got their temporary protection order that they'd like to get an extended protection order. And Miss B could tell you some of the different ones, but um, to get these extended protection orders, takes time, and you have to go to see a judge, and the judge has to issue this, and he'll rule on how long it should be and what the circumstances are. Um, but we handled a case the other day, and we had 4 members go to be security for this young lady and her children as she went to court. And I'll let Miss B tell that story because she loves to talk and tell stories, and she's not on here every day. So, Miss B, tell that story.
This last one we went to court with.
The Knoxville one, yeah.
Yeah, Rebecca will find this interesting. She was alone, and she had already said if we hadn't have been with her, she wouldn't have stayed. When the boyfriend showed up, he showed up with his mom, his best friend, and the family preacher. They didn't realize that we were going to be there, so they were going to use the family preacher to talk her out of biblically leaving. So that was relatively interesting. She got what we asked for. She got a year of no contact period. He can't even text her. He's going to jail, and the judge told him that. But in the meantime, of course, and I say this over and over and over again because that's the part that bothered me the most, while we're sitting there, 4 other women dropped their orders of protection because it was just her and the boyfriends and or husbands, and they felt like they were trapped and they couldn't do anything, so they dropped them and walked away. I feel like if they had some support, they wouldn't have done that. So,
Right.
Yes.
And that girl said she wouldn't have if we hadn't been there to support
oh
her.
yeah, she was shaking. I mean, sweating, shaking. She was a nervous wreck.
Right.
And of course, when the preacher tried to talk to her, I told him, no, sorry.
I do want to reserve my rights to speak on that preacher when we're off camera, but
I know. I already know what you're gonna say.
a lot of times we see that throughout the South that people want to use, abusers. A lot of them with their narcissistic tendencies use the God complex, and they believe submission is control, and that's not what it really is. And I will say that he may have called himself a preacher, but if he was a true man of God, he would have never, ever facilitated, been part of, or taken any part of being any form of abuse to a wife or to children. And I'm so thankful that you were there.
And who told him that? so it was.
We're equal shares.
Yep.
We're equal shares in the grace of life, and God doesn't have any respecter of persons. But there's so many times that it does happen, and I think that we just are. I think it's sometimes the way we were taught. We really need to have conversations about that. And I was telling, and as we were talking, I don't know where you want to go, so you just got to tell me. I don't want to start.
You go right ahead.
You're fine.
I was talking earlier, right before the program. I was, asking Stones, why did you start this? What found your passion, and where do you come from? Why did you initiate this? Because each of us are here because we are, it has, and we had talked about that, but one of the things we talked about is that, anybody that's above 30, we didn't really talk about this in high school. We didn't know what domestic violence was. We didn't know what battered women syndrome was, or PTSD. These are not conversations that we had that we grew up with. We just knew that there was something that was wrong. And then we certainly, there's the whole other topic of abuse, number one, in the church, and proliferated by the church and by the pastors and other people. That in and of itself could take hours of conversation to talk about it, but it's something that needs to be talked about, certainly, because we know that a lot of narcissistic abusers use that God complex within the church, and they control. And I was one of the ones that was controlled, just because of my relationship with God was used to keep me in that abusive. Isn't that sick?
Right.
That's just, I mean, that's just sick. And but they use it against you. And God does not approve of any abuse,
Right.
on any level, at all. So where did you find your passion? And that's kind of what we were talking about, Stones, is I know this has grown and it's grown and it keeps growing and it keeps growing, but why did you start this? What affected you as a child? Or where did you find yourself at a certain place where domestic violence touched your life?
I mean,
made
I
you
came
do
from I came from a strong family. My mother and father are still together today. They didn't beat on each other, but my mother went through menopause early because of some female problems, and they took it out on me. And that was my first inkling of, okay, this is child abuse. But it was the 80s and it was the 90s. They really didn't have what they have now. But I saw abuse coming from my outer family. But that wasn't even what really pushed me towards it. It was my brother sitting around a fire one night and telling me about his day and how somebody walked right through a restraining order and took the life of somebody or put them in ICU. And I kept hearing it from him. And it was ridiculous at the stuff he was saying. He's like, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we could, And that's why I said, why don't we go ahead and do this? And that was the first step, was deciding we were all going to do it. And now, 9 years later, one video about shooting a chomo, and somebody said something that made me snap and expose who I was, because I was happy being just a chapter here in Georgia. We were protecting the people around us. And I'm always about home, protect the people that are close by. But from that video and all the comments, I couldn't just tell, a couple hundred people that wanted to join in on my dream, no. And when you know it, that man right across from me was one of the first few to come in. It started off small. I remember when channel was just 1 or 2, and now it's grown 1,000%. Of people following in on my dream. But it wasn't anything really from my childhood that made me do it. I've always been a protector. If you look up the name James, which is my name, it means the protector. And that's what I'll do till the day I die. And all these brothers have joined in on my dream to do the same.
That is awesome. And, in this day and age anymore, they want to take the masculinity of men and who they're supposed to be to their families, and they devalue them, and they don't want us to, you were given these abilities to protect people. You are stronger because you're supposed to protect and not to harm. And so, that is an amazing dream. And how about you, Papa Bear? What drew you into doing this?
I've seen domestic violence all my life. I mean, I was beaten by my stepfather as a kid. But, I don't know. When it come to Stones' Chomo video, just kind of had a heart for it, and it's something that needed to happen. And I support it 100%. Now, where I sit was not what I intended. I was actually thrown under the bus by my wife. And they all can tell you that. They all heard this story. But, at that point in time, I rode with my kids, and I'm like, we'll support these guys and blah, blah, blah. And a year later, here we sit. And it's one of the best causes I've ever been a part of.
Right.
And you're being part of the change that you needed, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's bringing out his feminine side and making him softer.
Yeah, I've been working with Big B. He's become sensitive, and
do you know? Well, you live local to him. Do you know any sensitive training classes that us as a club can buy for him as a Christmas gift?
I don't think I need such.
I probably wouldn't even want to change.
He probably needs a 5-day course, not a 2-day. He's going to need extra work.
I'm gonna go off in the woods for a week and fall into my arms and trust me kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
He's going to need 4 people.
Well, see, if you can't support me on your own, then I'll just do it myself. Yeah, and that's just it. Everybody knows somebody who has either been abused or was an abuser. It's just that simple. We all know somebody. I remember as a child listening to my parents argue. They did it after they thought we were asleep, and they did it in the other room, but they shook the trailer because they were arguing. Now, I don't ever remember my father touching my mother, and of course, they divorced when we were young. But then she brought in stepdad, and stepdad was a different person when he got drinking and Vietnam would come out and he couldn't control himself. And I remember seeing and hearing parts of that as a young teenager. I've watched my uncle beat the shit out of his wife or girlfriend, depending on who he was with at the time, until she couldn't step up and walk. Let me I saw it and I stopped it twice in the same day. It's been around me my whole life. Now, Miss B has a history. It came from her from an early age. So we've been touched by it in some way. Now, my mom was good to me. She never laid a hand on me, and probably should have a few times. I'm sure I deserved it. But, there was abuse from babysitters and such that was more mental than physical some days, and some days more physical. But, yeah, again, all that balls up into making us who we are today. And I wasn't looking to come to this. I was real new to TikTok, and I'm flipping through and there's half naked girls and cool stuff. And then here's this red dude with a red bearded dude. And I flipped past him first, but the beard caught my eye. It glistened and I went backwards to see what he had to say. And I didn't buy into it, but I ended up deciding to just see what it was. I hadn't been out of Soul Revival very long when me and Stone started talking, and I didn't want another patch on my back. I didn't want responsibility. I didn't want nothing. And but the cause was just. And so we had a conversation, and it was good enough for me, and I stuck it out and decided to join. But and again, here we are a year later, and now we're making YouTube videos and trying to help more people. It's just, if we don't talk about it, nobody knows about it. Miss B helped one lady in a courtroom in a day that 5 needed help. She hasn't been there all week. How many more women have walked in and that opportunity was missed to help them to stand up to their abuser and get that protection order and get that stuff that's necessary? And we all know the protection order doesn't mean anything. It won't stop a bullet any day of the week, but at least it gives us the paper trail to start putting him in jail if he steps outside of that protection order. It might not save your life if he has a gun, but if he doesn't come with nothing but his fist, we might can help. And if I'm there, he won't pull that fist or that gun.
So you want to put a vote up to start making all prospects go stand out at least once every month in front of their local courthouse and hold a sign that says need help?
Yes. And we've already talked about that in our chapter. Taking once a month and go into your community courthouse, because we are spread so far over Tennessee. We could hit a half a dozen courthouses for the day.
Yep.
You gotta look at the dockets. You got to know which days are for those types of people.
Yep.
But we could do that. We can handle this, and then go stand out there and hand out business cards and hold up a cardboard thing. Can I be your Huckleberry?
Because I would have certainly to you. I would have came to you, and I'm so thankful that you were there, Miss B. And I'd love for you to tell us what it was that you experienced and went through. And this is what we do. We take on things, and then from that we become the change that we needed, or the change that, and we're filling in the gap of what should happen. And so where do you draw your passion from? Which, I mean, Big B told us a little bit, but you had a past of that as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, my father was an abuser, drug addict. He loved your face. Anytime he could hit you, he would. I can remember getting up in the middle of the night, needing to go to the bathroom, and Mama telling me to hold on because he'd have people in there and they were shooting up and they'd be missing veins and blood be everywhere. She'd have to clean it up before I could go pee. I was raped, and it was in the 90s where you didn't tell anybody. If it was taken care of, it was by your male friends. I was fortunate enough to have those male friends, but you sure didn't tell anybody because you know for a fact it was your fault. You drank, you smoked, you wore something, you know, he paid for dinner. It was your fault. So, but even with that, mine is childhood, more childhood than anything. So for sure.
Well, you figure Miss B and I have been together 30 years, and she's
Mhm.
only 36. So,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
I'm out.
Yeah, this is
You're right.
This is some Kentucky stuff happening right here.
Right here. That's that inbred
I-
stuff. I'm gone. My family's been blue long enough.
See, I was trying to be nice, and y'all took this all the way to Kentucky.
Oh, gee.
It was only a short walk.
Oh, me.
Well, it's important, I think, that people understand why we do what we do and how it affected us, and we're not just doing it to be on TikTok or Facebook or to make a name for ourselves. Just like Stone said, you know, I had no idea that it would turn into this, and that's kind of how it's been with Anchored Outreach. I had no idea when I founded this and began what we did that it would turn into what it's turning into. But I think that is just, you know, just the blessings that come down because you're giving of yourself, because you're willing to stand in the gap. And that's what we're supposed to be, our brothers and sisters keepers. We're supposed to say, no, that this is not going to go on. And certainly we need people in every walk of life to be taking a stand against this. And and I know it's harder for guys to talk about, and I'm not even going to mention get into the whole Johnny Depp saga, but
Right.
but he does bring a valid point, and the valid point is that men are abused every day.
Yes.
In relationships every single day. And I don't know if you knew this. Yeah, Big B or Miss B.
No.
But my husband, Ben, came out of a very, very abused. He was abused extremely for 14 years. But being a man and being the Navy guy that he is, I mean, men just, you don't talk about that. You don't put up with that. And we know that abuse is much more than just physical. It's financial. It's emotional. It's being isolated. I mean, the wheel of I don't know if it, the violence, the wheel of power and control. Anybody can Google it. You can Google it, and it's a pie chart. And so as we meet these women and talk to these women or these children, a lot of times they just never thought about it or don't realize that economically or financially they're being abused when their names are not on bank accounts or their names are not on the cars or whatever it may be, kind of like in Ben's case where he was the sole provider for his family, but his name was on nothing. His name was not on a car. His name was not on the house. It was his,
Yeah, that was my
picked out,
mother.
clothes picked out for him. And, just because men can take it to the extreme, there are a lot of women that take abuse to the extreme. And it goes across the board. And I think that you guys can definitely be there to let them know, hey, it's not, going to affect your manhood to admit that you are being mentally abused, emotionally abused, physically abused. and we need to certainly be talking about this and getting that out there more and more. So,
Well, like Miss B said in the
yeah.
90s when she was going through her stuff, you didn't talk about what was going on because you didn't, you were just going to get blamed for it anyway.
Yeah.
Men haven't
That's right.
reached that door yet. So there's
Right.
still not a time where men sit around the campfire and have serious conversations about being abused, because that's just something you take 2 doses of suck it up every day and you go on about
All
your
I do.
life.
Yeah.
And that's, here we are at 2022, and that's
Right.
still not a subject that men will have because we're too tough for that. I can't go in front of Papa Bear and tell him this or that, because that might affect my ego, and it'll affect the way he looks at me and registers me as a man, and I can't afford that. So we're just not having that conversation.
Yeah.
And you just keep your mouth shut and you go on about your business.
Well, as a boy, I mean, I say it on here. I lost my virginity to my babysitter when I was 8. That would be considered rape.
Absolutely.
But as a boy, I didn't see it that way.
No.
Family didn't see it that way. But if I was a girl, it would have been seen different.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, maybe much so. And then I would say, even much like my situation, about the same age, it was, well, we don't want to ruin his life. We don't want to, or if it's interfamily, kind of like what Miss B was saying is, hey, it was, then that sets up all these barriers of trust. And I think, as far as like, I don't know if you want me to talk about what Anchored Outreach does or whatever it is, but
send it.
But I haven't had a chance to get a word in, so I was just letting you go.
I'm sorry. I'm going to shut.
No, you're good. But I would like for you to explain what Anchored Outreach is and what you do, and some about like what we were talking about the other night, and how your knowledge and outreach of people can help with our situation. So I was not. I was just being pissy. You go. You go right ahead.
I'm sorry. So that's why I said I don't have a problem. I guess maybe where I was shut up for so long, but some country girls hit back. I do want to say that I always have the need to say, hey, I didn't take my abuse lightly.
Right.
So I was able to find my voice again, and when I did that it's over now. So. But I found an Anchored Outreach, and basically just an entire lifetime of helping other people. My dad opened up his first mission over 60 years ago. And so I grew up. He started 5 different churches. And then he restored churches for over 30 years. But not only that, but he was really big on helping people. I don't remember a time ever growing up that we didn't have a mom and kids or somebody else, or a husband and wife, or we were taking care of, a family of 5 children in our home at any time. So this is what I grew up doing. So when I began to have issues in my marriage, and I knew where to go to get that help. But that's one of the things that I see people struggling, that do have these ministries and social organizations and riders clubs like you. What Anchored Outreach has come to do is to be the distribution warehouse for your organizations, so that you can have these life-sustaining supplies that you need to do what you do. And it's not so taxing on the members. Or I know you're not taking contributions right now, but what I love to do is I love to help people's visions and dreams really come to life. That's what I was doing at Soul Revival as I moved them into 501c3 and the elder board, and all of this. So, with doing that, we offer administrative support, and then of course with domestic violence training, and link you with, and kind of, we could create, you say, well, what could Anchored Outreach do for PW, for your group? So what could we do for you is that we could link you with free resources. These women create a networking software where you guys can communicate, and you can have this list at all times to where you know who you can contact in each state, and find the help that they need. Because you just basically, if you have the tools to talk to someone, because here's the, like you said, in these situations where we've walked through abuse, we've lived through abuse, we know what abusers are saying. We know what they act like. And that's why they write books about it. And that's why they have counseling about it, is because it's almost all the same. And so either that, whatever it may be, I seen one of the ladies mention doing Toys for Tots, doing stuff like this. Well, your own group can do things like this, because not only can Anchored Outreach help, and we said, well, we can help financially, but it would be more like we can order pallet loads of toys, tractor trailer loads of toys, and it's doing things on a bigger scale and creating and developing partnerships. So that's what we're doing, especially with Alabama. I'm going to say this. I know we're in Tennessee. So I'm part of the Moonshine down here, but Alabama's got it together when it comes to domestic violence. I'm studying their program and how they're doing things, because I have a lot of people pushing me to open up a woman's home here, and we have a small men's recovery group. So I'm at that. I'm going to go the next couple phases. We'll end up doing that. But we do have a small men's recovery program. But we do really intense recovery. We're going back to those childhood traumas, kind of like what you went through, Stones, and what you went through, Papa Bear, Mama B, connecting all of this and linking those dots back to what is the root cause of addiction. And that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time, and I can't spread myself out too thin because of everything else we're doing. But that's kind of what Anchored Outreach does, is we're a networker. We're administrative support. Like, we offer fundraising ideas and just kind of garner off of all my experience of what I've been doing for the last 20 something years. So, and it's just where you guys want to be. And it gives you an opportunity to think about the next 6 months, year. It doesn't take me long, and Brandon can tell you this, Big B can tell you this. It doesn't, and Miss B too, it doesn't take me long to organize something. If there's something that you want to do, or if there's a question that you have, if I don't know the answer, I'll say, I don't know the answer, but I will find it out. I'll get back with you. And whatever that is that you're wanting to do, we can make that happen. And that's kind of, that's my way of giving back. That's my way of saying, hey, there's purpose in the pain. And I can take that passion and that pain, and I can turn it into a purpose. And I can make sure that the next person that is in my situation is not going to suffer as long. Because I know that if I was protected, I wouldn't have had to make the decisions that I did. I always call myself the queen of stupid, because I had I was widowed with 5 babies. And then I was in a horribly abusive relationship. And I was always having to make these decisions because, he owned 100 acres and owned a car lot and paid all this money into the county and to the state. And even the officers themselves would see us abused and let him just leave. And so, and I only got judicial justice because the local county judge was out because he was having a heart problem. And there was a judge from another county that he didn't go to church with. So, but if I would have had you guys there, I had property that my name was in. If you could have protected me there, you could have made sure that we were okay. But he was coming in on me and the children, and I had to leave. And I had to make these really tough decisions to leave and to get out. So, you would say, well, what kind of supplies are you talking about? One of the things is I thought about this when Big B invited me on Monday to be part of Wednesday is, something that maybe you guys want to think about is ordering anything you need to order from Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, Lowe's. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever company you can think of, I've established that relationship. So phones, we can get used phones, burner phones. We can give phones to women and to children because, abusers take their phones. They take the keys of the car. They take their clothes and their shoes and all of this. So as you guys are all thinking about this and you're all this is all stirring inside of you of what you want to do, just let me know.
Let me ask you
And I'll
something
do
about
anything.
your place. Do y'all deal with sex trafficking?
We do a little bit, and that's something I want to get more into because there's I want to say this, and it's almost like an underground railroad. And I know that sounds funny. There is a group of people.
It is.
Yes, there is.
It is throughout the United States that I have a really great friend that was a board certified therapist. She's been a domestic violence and sexual abuse counselor for over 33 years. And she used to be over Home Safe in Lebanon. You remember that, Miss B? Used to be a Home Safe. I brought them in. I bring a lot of counselors into women's recovery because a lot of times when you have been the victim of someone that is an addict, or you have been in addiction yourself, sexual abuse and domestic violence go hand in hand with that. So she is in contact with the Underground Now kind of railroad thing of what we're doing. And so that I definitely, if I did anything immediately, I would move on that, because she's saying we need more people that are legally minded, that are interconnected, but we have to bring women and children out of situations, and we can't call the police, and we can't call the local sheriff, and they've reached out, and this is life and death. This is not a joke. It's so she's, believe it or not, she works for the state now, for the state of Tennessee, for their domestic violence program, and so she's trying to develop that. But that is something certainly that I would love to get into. That
I would like to speak to your friend personally.
Okay. Because this becomes an issue because, kind of like, I don't know where some of you guys grew up, but, we didn't call the police where I grew up. We didn't call the police. We just handled the things on our own.
Yeah.
And, and in like my situation, if I would have been able to call a number knowing that I would not be, my abuser started carrying is it a 380 in his pocket every single day? I mean, it got to the point, he took out almost $1 million worth of life insurance out on me and my 5 children and had his mechanics cut our ABS brake line, and we almost all died. And I'm just saying, this was life and death for me. This was very serious for me. And so as I move into and letting Anchored Outreach grow and just become whatever it's going to become, but this right here, this is my heart. This is where this is my heart right here, because, there's been women that, I think about this girl named Angela. I tried to get her boyfriend into recovery 4 times last year, and I had set up to go get him twice, and she had 5 babies, and he was only the father of one of the babies. And he agreed to come twice, and then talking to her, like, he would never talk to me. I knew she was abused. I tried to get her all the help that I could. I gave her the numbers that I could. I counseled her to answer the phone at any given time because, an average woman will leave 7-8 times before she's really done. We'll do, that breakup. And I hadn't heard nothing from her from like November, December. And then I seen her in January. It was actually my husband called me, and they'd went into Walgreens, and he said, "Hey, can you come in here and talk to this lady? She's asking about coupons," because Jay went into coupon and Big B. She's my extreme couponer now, but that's my daughter. And so I went in there to talk to her, and I began to tell her who I was, and she said, "I know you. I know." She said, "You're Rebecca," and she said, I'm Angie. I talked to you. We're trying to get my boyfriend into recovery." And I just looked at her and I said, "Oh my goodness." And then I seen the bruises on her. And then I seen the baby that looked like it was in total shock. And so those of us that have experienced this have have a doctoral degree in the pain and
Yep.
suffering of abuse, right? Like, Stones, you can probably pick up on a kid that's being sexually abused by his babysitter from 300 miles away.
Facts.
And even more so, just like you, Papa Bear, you can pick up on this. And there was a reason and a purpose of why we went through what we went through. We can see this. And as we identify these triggers, and we can, I think and I believe with all my heart, because we're supposed to do something about it. And I told her, and I began to speak with her, and I said, "Angela," said, "please let me get you help." And she said, "It's okay. I'm saving money and I'm putting money back." And I said, well, we began to talk on Facebook, and I went into the store the very next week, and I said, "Please tell me, please let me know." And the cashier said, "Hey, Miss Rebecca, you know that lady, Angela, you're trying to help?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I just want you to know, I thought you might want to know that she's dead. She's dead." And I couldn't finish my transaction, and I said, What are you talking about?" Because I gave her a bunch of laundry stuff, and and I was just talking to her and trying to encourage her, and I said, "What happened?" The coward shot her and then shot
Yeah.
himself.
My goodness.
And that affected me. That puts me right back to where I was. So I would love to do that. I would love to do the sex trafficking and get more involved in doing Women's House. But
Now, I've dealt with a lot of cases over 9 years, and I've only lost a handful. But no matter how many cases I help, the ones that hurt me the most are the ones that I've lost. Because no matter how many good things you do, it's your one screw up that sticks with you.
That's right.
That everybody judges you for. Well, you lost this one. Yes, but I helped these 12. Well, that doesn't matter. You lost this one.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Well, see, and that was part of what, when I was talking to Rebecca the other day, it was just kind of happen chance, and light bulbs started going off. A lot of what Rebecca does right now may not be 100% what PBW needs help on today, but we could have helped that young lady.
Yeah.
You see people that we could help, that you could give our information to so that we could service and help out of a bad spot that you may not can help on your own. These ladies in Alabama and how well they're doing with their stuff. I tried to get the young lady from the radio station in Kentucky on tonight as well, but I just couldn't line it up because she's opening up a house for women. So all this is kind of brought together, this big master cluster of whatever it is that God's doing. And there's going to be a way that you can help me and I can help you. Yeah. And together we're going to help more ladies, more children than we would have on our own. And that's the whole thing. There's things that we're talking now with the sex trafficking and whatnot. And I knew that Stones, when he heard you talking about, being in the country and you can't go to the cops because of this and that, it would trigger a memory that him and I both, and Papa Bear know about. And it's a problem.
It is a problem because now the people that I support would become my enemy.
Correct.
But I can't judge every cop on a section of cops.
No.
Because I've got good brothers out here that if I was to call one of them right now and be like, "Come with your lights off in your personal car,"
correct.
And they would in a heartbeat because they're friends. Mm-hmm. But then you go down into the rural parts of the other side of Atlanta, and it's that way where I've heard, I escaped, but I went to the first cop I seen, and he took me back to my keeper, to my master. And when I hear those words, master, I know what she's going through.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've dealt with it before. And it hurts that I can't help them. That I do everything I can. but I can't
I
break
do,
the law.
but I want to say this, that there's a fine line between being charged and being convicted, okay, as well. And the women are very, very important to what you're doing right now, because the men will set off a trigger for the abuser. So the women's can infiltrate on such a deeper level, as a friend or as a cousin or whatever it may be. And they're able to create that smoke and mirror effect for just temporarily until the men can come in and do what they need to do. But the women are very, very important. So
Well,
we'll just take this. Mhm.
I was going to say,
Go ahead.
we have, and we've pretty much got every chapter doing it now. But in just Tennessee, we have 5 young ladies that we call peacekeepers. I'm not very well with dealing with somebody's feelings on the other line of the phone. I just want to come and yank you out of the situation and be done. But we have these young ladies that will be that mediator between me and them, and they will talk to them, and they'll get the whole story, and they'll keep in touch with them. And just like you're saying, they can be working with them on a level I can't. And then when
Yeah.
somebody needs a hammer, they'll pull me out of the drawer, and I'll go do what hammers do.
Pick up rock, smash in
Pick
face.
up rocks.
And I
But
will say this, some law enforcement officers understand that, but others are intimidated. Why are they intimidated by the masculinity and calling upon the men? And I'm sure you have a lot of veterans that are in your riding club. And these are what we would call a sleeper units, where these men are actively trained. They are trained in security. They are trained in other things. And so why are we not utilizing this? And you're right, Brandon, as we begin to partner, they for all the surrounding areas, they call me and say, hey, I've got this situation. So forever I've been networking between 17 different recovery centers. And a lot of times what I'm finding out is that the women, or the moms or the sisters or whatever it is, they're being abused. They are, and even the children are innocent victims of this addiction. They don't even realize it. As their parents are taking different substances and stuff, they become victims. And so that puts me in a situation where as I'm taking in, or I'm doing an intake, or because what I'll do is I'll intake with a girl and I'll know she's part of a trap house. There's been points where I've been threatened because I've moved her on. I've put her in Alabama where he can't find her, or whatever it may be. So Anchored Outreach does what it does, but what I do on my, what I do personally is this right here. And I'm just like you. If I'm sitting here and I tell the accountants that I've hired now, I've told every one of them, hey, I told everyone that works with me, hey, I'll be sitting here. I know I have to be in the office today, but if I get a call that some girl's being beat or something's going on, or some kid, I'm leaving. Don't
Right.
expect me to stay here, because I know that about me. And so,
Yep.
make me that second phone call.
Yeah.
Yep.
And thank you for the other day. I've already called you and you've already helped, and just the other day I said, hey, I've got this lady. Do you have anyone in Fayetteville and Lincoln County? Do you have anyone? This is a mama that's been being abused for 11 years. I've been literally counseling her into the abuse that she has suffered. She has a restraining order that's crap, and she's going today to get an order of protection. And he's went to the kids' school, to the kids' church. He don't care.
Yeah.
These guys don't care. That let's be honest, the majority of abusers do not care about the law. So
No.
all of a sudden, we want to be all legal about what we do. But they don't care. They don't care to spend their life in prison. They don't care because they see these women and children as property, not as people, not as persons, not someone that has feelings and desires. But they're a piece of property and they want what is theirs. And
but we can stand on the defense. And if he attacks us or tries to come through us, we can defend ourselves. And I am private security and was private security. And yes, I could go in and sweep through a house by myself, But then the next day I would be explaining to a jury of my peers of why I used my training to sweep through the house and kill all the combatants. And then I won't be able to help the next one.
Right.
That's
You know,
right.
I will be in C block, you know, waiting on my time to come up so what I can get out and do it again. You know,
and none of
Right,
us are
that's the problem.
scared to get in between the abuser and the abused. But if we take 50 cents worth of lead to fix every problem, eventually you run out of people who's here to fix the problem.
give me diplomatic
And-
immunity for a month.
Well, that would
I know,
be
right?
a big help. But yeah, I mean, whatever we can do, and that young lady has not reached out to me, by the way.
Mm.
So and she doesn't have to worry because I will hand her off to one of my young ladies, and they will talk super nice and sweet, and she won't hear my voice until I'm needed.
Until you're cowering over her like a
but
you know, you
yeah.
talk about educating, you know, counseling these ladies, but you realize that some of us older ones, this is generations.
Yeah.
So somewhere the trend has to be broke. So my children, your children, so that they learn behavior and continue another 50 generations of beating on women.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is. And then
And
I've met people that are just like me, had a great family, parents never abused each other, family still together, beat a woman to death.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I
see, and
mean-
we've talked about that. Like I said, you know, Rebecca and I come from working in ministry together. And, you know, on one side of that, all right, so my grandparents from rural Alabama were as racist to the bone as they come. They didn't care what they said or who they said it in from because this is how life was in their time. Now, my mother
Right.
lived in a house with racist parents, but when she had us children, she did not bring that into our home. So my brother and I were never taught to hate people on color. And so when I got married and we had children, we never taught our children to hate people based on color or whatever. And all right, so we fixed this. 3 generations, we fixed the problem. But we also learned, you know, dealing with ministry, it only takes 3 generations to take a God-fearing family and turn them into someone who doesn't know God. Because as soon as you decide, I'm not teaching this to my children, I'm going to let them make their own decisions, then they teach it to their children, let them make their own decisions. And now 3 generations later, 150 kinfolk don't go to church because nobody ever taught them this is how life works. Well, it works that same way with this abuse. We can fix it in
Right.
3 generations, or we could lose it in 3 generations.
It's facts.
Right. And you're right, Papa Bear. The thing of it is, and I always say that, especially like men in recovery that I'm dealing with, yes, I can deal with the man that's 30, 40, 50. I mean, we've even had guys, and we processed 12 men last year. And I know that our numbers aren't big intentionally, but because you put so much time into it. But I can help them, and I can help them become, you know, self-sufficient and get on their feet. But the reality of it is you have to go to the children. You have to get to the children so that they would, and the youth, so that they would know that there's a way out, that they don't
Right.
have to choose the same thing their parents did. So it's
Right.
really not about the toothpaste that I give away or the laundry soap or the brand new clothes or brand new shoes. When I take it to the meth trailer parks, it is not, and they say, why do you do crazy stuff like that? Because it's not even about these adults all the time of what I'm doing. It's about the children, and it's about the little kids that run up. And I'm saying, you know, I just want you to know that someone cares about you, that someone
Right.
loves you, that there's a different life. And I think it goes hand in hand with addiction and recovery and with this abuse, that, hey, you know, this isn't normal. This is not normal.
Right.
Like Papa Bear said, well, I was raised around this my whole life. Well, I kind of had more of a life like Stones did. My parents weren't they weren't like that. We didn't know. I was never taught what domestic violence, like we were talking about before. That wasn't around me. Not really, not like in my family. Of course, we were helping other people, so I was exposed to it. But this was not a conversation, that we were having on a regular basis. It just wasn't. But the children really, really need to know that, and that's where we stop. That's where we make the impact. Is not only with
Correct.
church, recovery, addiction, but abuse as well. And that's going to be a hyper focal point, because my children, when I told Jay, my daughter, what Big B and Miss B was doing, I mean, she just sat there and she just had tears in her eyes, and she started, she's just like, "Mommy, that would have made all the difference in the world to me and you." And I said, "Yeah, that's right. That's right." So, these kids will grow up to be the change. That's what I'm saying. We're being the change that we needed. And and we hope that they will too. So through us and then through our children, that's 2 generations right there. So we just need one more. So let's pray that our grandchildren link on, and that everything is different.
And if I have anything to do with it, my grandchildren will know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mine
But
too.
like you said, we're through 2 generations now. We got one more to go. It could go either way. And then we'd be here 3 to 10 trying it all over again. But, we don't have to save them all. We got to save one more. So all we look for is just one more. There's 50 out there, and I'd like to get all 50. But as long as I get one, and then Big B gets one, Miss B got one, we're going to get that number, but we got to do it one at a time.
Yep. And that's just it. We're only as big as we are. We cannot help everybody today. When Miss B and them went to court the other day, they could only help that one. That was all that they were physically set up to do. But now that one's fixed, we're going to go do one more. And we'll just keep doing that until we have eradicated this to the best of our ability.
And somebody in the comments put it there. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. It's okay.
PBW has a junior PBW. And they're learning. They're going to come up and take B's of mine and Stone's spot one day. And they've come through, as little as 2 to 17 is what's in there. And they're learning brotherhood, sisterhood, protecting each other. Actually, Kentucky,
homegrown.
Inky, there you go, had a young man who was on a field trip, showed the international sign, or seen the international sign, and saved a little girl's life on a field trip.
Yeah.
This little girl was taken by a man. She was flashing at. He recognized, went to the authorities, and they stopped what could have been another child in the newspaper or another child in sex trafficking for the rest of her life.
Yeah, she'd have been sold or dead by now had he not noticed that and recognized it.
Correct.
And everybody thinks that doesn't happen. I hate to break it to you. There's an auction going on right now for a child.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
probably Disney World. Oh, did I say that loud?
Anyways, that's not important. The bottom is, you're right. Whether she come out of the Douglasville Walmart, the Kroger's by Big B, Save a Lot near this young lady, it doesn't matter. Somewhere, every minute, a child's gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for a while there, we were teaching all of our chapters about if you get an egg thrown on your windshield. 1, don't turn on your windshield wipers. 2, don't stop.
Right.
3, run over whoever's around you.
Facts.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I heard you, as I was watching the other shows, and you guys were talking about getting policies and procedures, and of course, we're talking about other things, but getting these in place to where you would know. And just like with Stones, what I was going to say is when you had these prospects stand out in front of the local courthouse and having them a pamphlet or some type of information to where you're right, you're only 1 to 2 people. you can only make the impact that you can. But what it is getting your name out there so that they know, and then yes, and then I mean, there's going to come a point where where you have to have an out game with that relationship. And let's be honest, where the lady returns back home or whatever it might be. And I become frustrated with that myself. But there has to be a point where to back off and say, okay, we're going to give her a little bit more time, but be there when she calls in the middle of the night. So knowing that and knowing how to respond to that will definitely give everything a overall. Everyone knows exactly what they're about to do, and exactly how to handle the protocol of what you're asking them to do. And that is so important. So stuff like that is what I like to do, is say, hey, maybe I can bring a different side to it or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or I see, I'm seeing everything that you guys are doing, and definitely that way every single chapter matches it identically. And then this way, if any of us or anyone does go to court, we'll say, oh, well, wait a minute, here's our protocol, or whatever it might be. And then the attorneys can go from there.
That's exactly what we're in the process of trying to do, because there was a time this was just Georgia. This was just a section of North Georgia. And now it has grown so big so quick that how do we make this work well? We've made it work.
Stretching pains.
Exactly. So how do we make it work well? Okay, well, what do I do in this situation? Well, hell, I don't know. That question's never come up before. Let's figure that out. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
And then next month, we've got 5 more questions, and we fix those. And, it's just been amazing step after step after step of taking this from little small Southern English Georgia to what it is now. And it's amazing.
And you're right, because rules for Georgia different from Tennessee, different from me in Ohio. So we try to uniformize it.
Georgia rules work just fine for your chapter. Thank you very much.
I heard him say that the other day.
Different rules, like what we can get away with. So Big B can go down and sit on the courthouse. I have to have 45 days to get a permit, and then we got 2 hours. So there's a lot of that's what I mean rule wise. I'm not talking about in-house rules, because you're right. I don't run all the other garbage that's out there. Just put it out there. So that fight's on later. But the problem, what I'm saying is what Big B and Mrs. B were just saying, they could go, they can wear cuts, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They got 2 hours they can hang out there with a sign. Well, like in my area, we got to have a permit. We can only do it on the Thursday of the month, blah, blah, blah. There's just different rules. And so it's kind of getting all that together so we can make that happen.
But if you stand out on the sidewalk on public property and hold a sign on the sidewalk. I hear you. I know my Constitution.
They say that the sidewalk is public until you got to fix it, and then it now belongs to you.
Well, but that's just it. Stones knows his constitutional rights, but little Jimmy got tired and he sat down on the steps to rest for a minute and then got arrested because he wasn't on public property.
Right. So
yes.
So it's getting all the facts and teaching all the different chapters, and like I said, what happens here is different than what happens in Washington. And God knows what happens in California. I ain't even going there. But, what I mean? It's eventually trying to construct us all to run the same, do the same mission, and have the same outcome. We just might have to do a little stepping around the curbs in here.
I would say each chapter, as the different laws are in the different states, and I understand what you're saying. I actually went to college in Ohio, so having to learn, and my dad's mission was in Cincinnati, even though we're all Southern. And I felt like moving down here, 17 years ago, I was stepping back in time 30, 40 years, honestly. But you're right. There's different laws in different states that would control what we technically can and cannot do. So I would say on that, you would have to maybe each chapter have their own little set of rules that would adhere to each state and different municipalities and all of that. And together, right?
And that's what we're learning right now.
Yeah,
because every state's going to be different. Every country is going to be different. We just had somebody contact us.
Listen, dude, we got to stay in Ohio, in the United States now.
I know, but I mean,
He's already tried to get us to Cuba.
Look, free my people.
Cuba's another deal. We were going to take over Cuba and live there or something, you know. But
Look,
eventually,
I got family in Cuba.
But having that structure in place, and then even the things that are off record that are technically part of your record is going to be important, because there's going to be things that hinges on what would be exactly illegal. But I mean, I'm going to tell you that I'm not going to sit here and say that when I go up and I see someone beating a woman in a doorway that I'm not going to step inside and drag her out. And that's illegal in Ohio. I can't do that. Ohio is, if someone breaks in, and they might have changed this.
they are. We are a right to protect state.
Okay, now you are, but what used to bother me is if someone broke into your house, you had to prove that you could not get away from your robber that was trying to murder you and your wife, or had murdered one of your sons. You had to prove that you could leave the house, that you couldn't find an exit way, or you would be charged for murder, for just protecting your family. And so now
that's why it's better not to have a body found.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Why God made pigs and gators.
But, you know, seriously, you're right. But Ohio has changed that in the last couple of years. Yeah. And maybe they're starting to get their shit together. I don't know. I mean, our governor's not real bright.
Just like there's a sex trafficking ring, and like you said, that there's a child being auctioned, there is an underground of what they're doing. And so why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't we infuse the rescue effort, the underground rescue effort? Why wouldn't we do that? Because every day, and this is, and I know we've talked a lot kind of biblically a little bit, but you know, every day that evil gets bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. And so we're called to combat that. So what is it? Evil will never outdo good. And so as long as we're combating that and we can push it back and push it back. And, you know, I want to say this to those that we have lost. You know, one of the things that God had to help me with when I'm dealing with this life and death situations that I do all the time is I know that he's the giver, the keeper, and the taker of life. Yep. And that is his business. And he is in control of that. All we can do is the best that we can do. All that we can do is do what we know to do and to use the tools that we have. And the rest of that we have to give to him and say, help me to do better next time. And that's his business. And I have to leave that in his hands because I wouldn't sleep. I would not even be able to function to help the next person. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
It takes me back. Yeah. Sit here and say I was not off of, I literally had 2 weeks where I was so foggy and I couldn't hardly concentrate because I was so grieved by that. You know, I would be lying. But putting that into the hands and saying, let me be able to do what I can do now. And this is all I can do. And I think that's the requirement. That the requirement is to give our good and faithful service to the best of our ability and go to sleep at night and said, I did the best that I can do today. And I'm going to get up tomorrow if I get given the gift of life one more day, because today is the present day. It is a gift. This is the only day that I have. This is the only day that I'm promised. I'm going to do the best that I can today. And I can do the best that I can tomorrow. And so just encouraging each other and supporting each other to keep doing the best that they can do, that's what blesses me, is to know that there's other people out there and that I'm not like this. I used to wonder what was wrong with me that I would do these, go into hell and drag somebody out. I mean, who even is normal? I don't know, but it definitely, it's been great talking with you guys, and I don't know how much time we have. Big B, you're I don't want to overtake what you're doing. So.
Oh, you ran the whole show. You did an awesome job.
We was just sitting back and just watching.
Tune in Monday for Rebecca's show on
right.
how to
Yeah, just
clean
throw
up
her up
the
on the
hair
screen.
and
We'll be
teeth
back.
left behind.
I think she actually came out with a whole new topic during that whole speech. That'll have to be discussed off screens.
Did we cover all 3 topics? I don't know if we did, but
I think we talked 3 plus some.
There you go.
Mhm.
And this is why I asked Rebecca to come on. It gives us a little bit of a different opinion because she's not a part of PBW.
Correct.
She's watched the show. Again, her and I used to work together with a ministry, and we done some great things in that couple of years' time that we were together. And I know her abilities and the things that she knows how, especially when it was, doing the law, things we needed to know about law and 501(c) and other things that helped the church and the ministry at the time. So I knew that she would have some good information that PBW could use and sponge off of. And this won't be the last time that I ask Miss Rebecca to come on. She sees women in their worst. She sees men in their worst. She sees people that, had she had our number a year ago, could have used our help a year ago. So some of this is networking. We talked with Miss Riding Hood up in Kentucky a month or so ago about her women's shelter, that they're still in the baby stages of getting ground broke on and built. But one day that will be a humongous resource for us. Again, Miss Rebecca has resources in Alabama that I'd like to get in contact with. There is possibilities in her future of things that we may be able to use her for. She has the knowledge to maybe help set us up with things that were academic and clerical and behind the scenes administrative that we might could use today. It's bringing fresh blood into this pool and seeing what ideas can we pull from that. So I don't feel like it's wasted time at all. It's definitely something that we've all grown a little bit tonight in knowledge. You give me an opportunity to introduce Stones and Papa Bear to Miss Rebecca and them to her. So this is going to do nothing but grow us in the future, and hopefully we can even help her grow some in the future as well. So this has been amazing. And again, Miss Rebecca likes to talk as much as I do. So if you put just her and I together, we're going to make a full show. Y'all are just extras.
No, I
There you go,
appreciate
Rebecca. In our private message, you'll find my personal phone number.
There you go.
Okay, and then I want to say this. One of the things that Anchored Outreach is doing right now is, and I have requested funding and other things for that, is doing an advocacy group, not only for the men and women that are in recovery, but an advocacy group for the families of those that are addicts. And so what this does, why do I, people say, well, why is it that you give away the things that you give away? Because I can't even, I'm not even going to start to, anyways, the amount of things that I give away, it just gives me a platform, just that small little window of opportunity and time that I can talk to them and get to the real issue. It really has nothing to do with laundry soap. It really has nothing to do. Do I like to give that to them? Yes. But giving something to a child that's in need just gives me a minute to look at them and analyze them and see what they're going through, so that then I can resource other help and to really be able to get to that. And so as we go into this next phase, and that's what I'm working with someone about, is developing the advocacy program. Yes, here in Tennessee, if you have people that are part of your chapter that wants to start a women's home, I don't mind to facilitate that, create that, and get that going, because the women and the children, and Miss B will tell you this, are so greatly underserved. It's not even funny.
Well, I don't think there's a state out there that is over. You know, the homes are months waiting to get in.
Yep.
Yes. Let's every one of us take a look at Alabama, because I will honestly say that with me working in, and this is the states I work in and through, Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Georgia, even down into Florida, and then Alabama. I don't really go over to Mississippi much, or not yet, because as Anchored Outreach becomes regional, we're going to have warehouses spread throughout, and see, these warehouses are going to come in Portland Stones. I'm going to call and talk to you about this when it comes to the underground. It's very important to get all this linked together. But with all my partnerships and my networking, we can we can come into contact with the women that you are and the children that you are trying to protect all the time. And so as we do that, I see this growing a lot, but Alabama has 17 independently homes. Oh, there's like 30 homes. I'll pull up the statistics, but 17 of them fall under a umbrella agency, but they're independently owned, but they come under and they say, okay, we're going to learn from you how to do what we do and do it better. They're not in competition with each other. It's not about the money, and that's the issue I run into here, is the different recovery programs, and they have homes, and it's almost 30 different cities in Alabama. Can you believe that? You think that Alabama, everybody always talks about Alabama and being behind, but they're actually advanced when it comes to domestic violence and how they're dealing with it. They take women from me on a weekly basis because I cannot find them anywhere in Tennessee. And it is a joke because everybody's fighting. And it's like, and I don't understand that, because as Big B reminded me this week on the phone, I said, well, we're all on the same team. And he said, no, actually, we're not. We're supposed to be. We're supposed to be, but we're not on the same team. It's competition. It's how many likes. Oh, you might get more likes on Facebook than me. Well, I'm telling you right now, I don't care. I don't care about money. I don't care about my views. I don't care about my likes. I care about saving people's lives. And so, of course, I'm going to have a conflict of interest with other pastors and other people that are in recovery or whatever it is, because I'm not about the money. I'm about the person. And I'm about the lives. And if that's what everyone else is about, then there's no reason we can't work together. Because you know why? We're gonna get the funding that we need. Don't worry about us. We've always been able to pay. I literally, pay everything. And so I'm just so thankful for that. But to me, it's not about, I don't care about the money that you got over here. I don't, and I always tell these pastors, I'm not talking to you about the people. I'm not a sheep stealer. I'm not a called pastor. I want to talk to you about that person that you lost, you left the 99 to go find the one that you won't invite to church because she's abused and her children don't have the right clothes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That's who I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to you about the people inside. Yes, I'll talk to them. But I want to know the people that you've rejected, the people that you've ignored, the people that you've shunned. That's who I want.
And know that we both feel that way. We both have worked with that. And absolutely, 100% on board with that. Amen. You got it. Oh, it just makes my face burn.
I mean, we put a woman in a place called Fullerville Ministries over here. And they claim to be this great place that could help abused women. So we put her and 2 kids there. I got a phone call 3 days later. They're kicking me out. I said, well, wait a minute. What'd they kick you out for? She was like, well, I went down there every morning, helped them at the church like they wanted. But they wanted me to put my kids to bed at 6 o'clock. And when I told them they don't go to bed till 8, they screamed at me and told me I had to leave. And I was like, really? So I went down there to talk to the man. And he slammed the door in my face and said, I found somebody else that'll live there that'll pay money.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, really? You're in this for money?
Well, I mean, there are a lot
Most of them are.
especially if they're funded
Yep.
by the government, or it's kind of like keeping the beds full just so they get their money instead of the ones that need help.
And then, that's part of what this advocacy group is about, is we want to become a watchdog, and the BMSB will tell you that I was part of shutting down. I know someone else claims it. I don't really care. But anyways, I closed down a horrific recovery center that was charging these men all this money. They were working over 100 hours, a week, and they weren't getting paid, but yet they were furloughed there and they couldn't leave. So they were, it's like a slave situation there. And I don't know where in the Bible that it says that we are to profit from helping and saving lives. That's what I need someone to explain to me, is how you can charge men and women $200 and $300, or women that are in domestic violence situation, how you can charge them rent. They should be sponsored, and you shouldn't take them unless they're sponsored. So for me, part of this is going to be radio. It's going to be activism, kind of like what you're doing to bring light to this abuse of, like, I would love to know the name of that place and put them on my radar, because we need to talk about this. What is it?
Fullerville Ministries, Villa Rica, Georgia.
I've
blasted them so much. I have blasted them from here to the moon, and every time that man sees me, he runs from me. And I've never threatened a man in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Villa Rica, Georgia. You got to say it right, Stone.
Villa Rica, Georgia.
No, Villa Rica.
So they they charge these women to come into their shelter.
Yeah.
Oh my!
When I put her in there, they asked me for a $300 donation. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" They said, "Look, she ain't gonna have a place to live unless you do this, because that's what it takes for us to do the paperwork." I'm like, you know what? Fine. I paid it. I put her there, and he kept her for 3 days and then kicked her out.
He should have refunded your money too.
He should have.
Katie, we've seen that.
Because it was a donation.
That's right.
Haven't we seen that? Miss B, I'm going to tell you
right
now.
Yes, we have.
And there needs to be more men putting him on blast. And there needs to be more men like Big B and Papa Bear and everybody else in your area that is willing to get on to live stream, that are willing to go, that are willing to talk to the reporters, that are willing to do that. I mean, these places need to, and I'm sorry, but if they're abusing people and they're doing that, they need to be shut down.
Yeah.
Because they're literally going against, and I guess what angers us so much, Miss B, is that you're violating the basic principles of who God really is. You are not supposed to be. So this anger and all this stuff that builds up is because you're violating. You are, whatever you've done into the least of these, to those that are being abused, those that are lost in addiction, the sickest of the sick, the least of these, you are doing it as you are unto Christ. And they need to be blasted because they are abusing these people. But, that's what makes me sick about these recovery programs and these other places, is because they're no better than the drug dealers. And I know those are strong words, and I'm sorry, but those are strong words, because to me, you're just pimping these people out. You're doing the same thing. You're taking these women into these halfway houses and you're charging them so much money a week that they never can afford to save up to get deposits. And
then you wonder why they go back.
Yes. And they
go back. Because I told her this was a safe place for you to go. I recommended this place to you. I dropped you off on this doorstep for this to happen to you. How much are you going to ever trust me again once this has happened to you?
Yeah.
That's right.
What we said is never profit off the abused.
Right.
The only profit I've ever taken from this group is I profited new brothers.
That's right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Everything we do, any gas, anything that we do is from us right now, for sure.
Us.
And
because I don't want to be what we were dealing with in the past.
Right.
So
Yes. So when you think about it, if you have a house, for example, or you have 10 women in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, and those 10 women are paying $200 a week, that's $2,000 a month. And then you're literally making $8,000 to $10,000 a month, and you're putting God's name on it. To me,
Yeah.
that is one of the most
I forget how much
evilest.
they said that, and I was going to start a domestic violence shelter down here till they told me how much it would be in insurance and codes and what I'd have to do to the building to make it livable. And then they went to tell me to how much I would get paid per person per month that was in my shelter. And I'm like, well, I could understand to pay the lights. I could understand to put food on the table. Well, sir, you have to make a profit. No, I don't. Like,
Well, that's if you're a for-profit, and that's if you're a for-profit. But I'm
Right.
gonna say this, and you can take that money and you can invest that right back into the people. You don't have to keep it. You can turn it right around, and you can
Yep.
go and you can invest this right back into the women. And so there is a way to do it that way, Stones, but then you just take that money and you put it right back into their
yeah,
lives,
it's
and not
just like
into
running my business. For the first year, I didn't take a profit. I put everything back into my business and kept
Right.
building and kept building till I started making a profit. And then I put it back in the business, but I didn't want to do it for anything. I didn't want a profit. I just wanted, look, right now in Georgia, the share house down the road, the one that I speak about the most, that I send all my women to, they have a 2-year log back. Right now, 2 years till I can have a bed to put an abused woman. That's ridiculous.
That
But
is
it's like that with
ridiculous.
addiction as well. I mean, we've dealt with
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Yeah.
trying to get kids into programs, foster kids and whatnot, and trying to get addicts into programs.
Mhm.
Every bed is full.
It is. It is. And then
So where do you
COVID is
send these
really.
people?
Mhm.
Oh,
Now,
I can
there's a
imagine COVID.
There's a school just down from us because I got rid of some rats for them and I made a deal. The abused kids made me a few drums. That's what they teach these kids to do because they come from raped, abused, sex trafficked, you name it. This is the last chance for the children, and they take them into this camp. They live there 365 days a year. They're there till age 18, and they teach them boys skills. They teach them hunting, fishing. They teach them what a father should be teaching. They've taken that role. And I love going up there and working with them kids. I see what good we can do with the people around us in our communities. Because the outreach of this program reaches out to all the steps of Georgia and brings all these children in, but they can only seat 600 children. Now, that sounds like a lot, but they have to turn away 4,000 children a year.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you've ever looked at the statistics of how many kids just disappear off the face of the earth in the United States, and you literally are sitting here like, where are they going?
Yeah.
What's happening? What's happening to them? Yeah. And there can't be enough homes. Will you find my charger, hon? There can't be enough homes and there can't be enough places. And that's why we have to all stop looking at it like it's a competition. I think it should be a requirement of these places to invest so much money per the patient or per the client. And I got it. Thank you. So I really think that it should be that way. And there's nothing wrong. And I'm going to say this, Stones. I do not feel, which we don't profit or benefit from our nonprofit. We've never taken a penny from that. But in turn, I don't think there's anything wrong making a literally a capped income where you hire someone. Now we are actually considered a social organization. And the reason why I filed that differently, because I want to be able to partner with other people that are doing things that are not exactly what you would say Christian organizations. I did not, I wanted to be able to branch off from that and be able to take these principles in which I live by and apply them in the corporate world or other parts of whatever we're doing. but I think there should be a cap on what each employee would make. As far as if this organization, I mean, you guys would just have to make that decision of how large you really want to become. Because here's something that I have heard recently. What you're doing with Anchored Outreach is conceptual, but it's never been really done that way. But it's conceptual in that it needs to happen. It's a good, positive thing. And it's something that is a model that needs to be replicated. And that's what you guys have experienced. You have started something that is a model that should be replicated in every city, in every town throughout the United States and even further. And
Amen.
there's nothing wrong with accepting the truth of that and saying, okay, well, that was not my intention, and now it's here. And so you just will have to phase out your growth like that. And so I look forward to all the wonderful things that you guys are going to be doing. I mean, the man upstairs is really proud of y'all. You wouldn't be growing the way you are. I would say that. Because if he ain't in it, it ain't going to go, man.
Yeah.
This is his path. I'm just walking it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and
Gave you a
so,
choice.
and it's great, and we're all broken, and we all come, and we all have these different issues. But you know what? I'm glad that he loves me despite my stupid self. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. I mean, don't look to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing the best that I can. And I think we all are,
Yep.
But
This is our bed. We lie in it.
Yep.
yeah.
I
that's right.
knew whenever I joined into this group that I wasn't taking anything of financial means out of it. I came in with a servant's heart going, how do I help? And I've asked God 100 times, is this really where you want me? And evidently he is.
You have gained something out of it, brother.
Not financial.
No, something better than finances.
Well, I got brothers and sisters now that I've never had.
Right.
I got family.
One thing that we all take away from this is family.
Mhm.
We stick
Yes.
together as a family.
Yeah.
I did not profit in funds. I profited in family.
We can call this a club all we want, but it's a family.
That's right.
These are brothers and sisters that came into this world kicking and screaming in somebody else's blood, and we'll leave the same way if we have to.
Yes.
We're not afraid to get in between you and the abused. It doesn't hurt me in the least bit, or scare any of us in the least bit to step in.
Not even the women.
I know some women.
No.
I know some women in this club that would definitely square off with a 6-foot man like it's nothing.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And that's what the majority of these people really need, because a lot of the women that are abused and the children, what end up happening is if they do not leave their abuser, the family abandons them as well. That is the goal of the abuser, is to isolate that wife or that mama, or to isolate the husband, and he's no longer talking to his family. They want to be their sole source of everything, and so we become family to them as well. And that is what money can't buy. That's what money can't replace, is people that are true blue all the way down to their soul, and that, hey man, and that in itself has a biblical, that nobody finds a better friend than one that will lay his life down for another. And so we have to just be willing to stand in that gap. But okay, I'm gonna let Big B take over, because just make me be quiet. I'm gonna sit here.
Well, we're an hour and 40 minutes in, which this is usually about the time we all start yawning a little bit, and it's about time to wrap it up. Stones is in Eastern time zone, so they're still confused. They don't know what time it is, but it's late for them.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, this has been great, and I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I definitely look forward to you coming back. I know that there are great things for us to do together to help each side to do what God's put us here, and so with that said, I mean, if y'all are in here and you haven't noticed it, I'll throw it up again. Um, I know that in the comments they've been doing it all night long. Our website, protectingbatteredwomen.com. Go in, find your state, locate that chapter. There's a phone number and an email address. Feel free to call, text, email. Let us know how we can help. Or if you're looking to be a part of this great thing we're creating, hit that button and ask for information on how to do that. We are a nationwide organization that is growing, and we'd love to have you be a part of it. So hit that button and come on in. Again, Protecting Battered Women RC is a we've said it a couple times tonight. We are not a 501(c). We are not in this for financial gain, and we're not here to give financial gain. We'll work with other people that do that type of stuff. We are here for boots on the ground to help women and children in a time of need, whether that means standing beside you and giving you support, sitting on your front porch, giving you security, and a number of things that we can help you with. Now, we do ask that you have a temporary order protection to at least have some paperwork to help us with what we're trying to do. If you need assistance getting that, we can help you.
Yep.
If you need an escort, we'll give it. Let us know what we can do to help you, and we will do our best to make that happen. And I'm going to sneeze. Again, Rachel, Rebecca.
Rachel.
I called her Rachel last night too. Rebecca, thank you for coming. We'll be talking soon. I know Stones is looking forward to talking to you about some other things, and we'll work in this together and just see what God's got in front of us. With that said, y'all have a blessed night, and we will get everybody out of here.
Have a good night, y'all.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.